Good evening, everyone. I'm Dude Stevens, and welcome to DMGM, your source for the truth unfiltered. Tonight, we're joined by a panel of experts here to discuss the current coronavirus pandemic. But first, Jerusalem man has gone missing. He was crucified, died, and was buried just 3 days ago. Here for more on this developing story, our own Morena Garcia.
Thank you, dude. Reporting live to you from Jerusalem, this is Marina Garcia. It has been an eventful week here. This normally quiet Mideastern town has recently been shaken up because one of their own has come up missing. According to officials, Jesus of Nazareth was executed and buried last Friday. But 3 days later, on Sunday, the tomb was open and the body was missing, y'all. Given to the structure of the tomb, scientists have confirmed that it would not have been possible for anyone to have pushed away this 2,000-pound stone, either from inside or outside. And the locals here are baffled, as eyewitnesses say that aside from the earthquake, there was nothing unusual that happened, no criminal activity or no indication of the whereabouts of Jesus. Jesus remains. Detectives are asking anyone who has any information to please contact them immediately. Live from Jerusalem, I'm Marina. Back to you, dude.
Thank you, Morena. Let's turn now to our discussion on the coronavirus. Here to weigh in on this global pandemic is our panel of experts. Joining us this evening, all the way from 1933 Poland, St. Faustina Kowalska.
Hello, dude. I just want to make a shout out to my homie J. Paul, too.
Also this evening, one of the major authors of the entire New Testament, St. Paul of Tarshish.
It's Tarshish.
Okay.
But some people do say Tarshish. It doesn't matter. As I wrote to Titus one day, avoid foolish disputes about the law, and instead, as disciples, devote ourselves to good works as...
Let me get in there, Paul. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Sorry about that mispronunciation, but we'll get it right from here on out. Lastly, joining us tonight, he's a senior analyst on our investigative unit, Dr. Thomas Didymus.
Good to see you, dude. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for being here. And I'd like to go ahead and get started. So let's jump right in. Paul, we're going to start with you. You've been in prison several times. What is this quarantine like compared to being locked up?
I mean, dude, it's a walk in the park. I mean, I remember back in county, I didn't have much light to see, and I had guards who would beat me continuously, constantly. Oh, and don't even get me started on the food. But now, by the way, have you ever heard of this thing called Uber Eats? Or how about Waiter, Grubhub, Postmates, any of those?
Dude.
What's that, Thomas?
Huh? No, forget about it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
It sounded like you had... Go ahead, Faustina.
Oh. Well, as a little girl, I always loved the idea of time and solidarity. To have that good long time for self-reflection and prayer. This lockdown, as you would say, reminds me of a time I spent in a convent in Warsaw.
I understand exactly what you mean, Faustina. My self-reflection time mostly consists of just me and my reflection in the mirror. But that's not the case of Christians nowadays. As a matter of fact, we're seeing a lot of them stepping up, doing things to serve the community. Most people are making masks to donate to local hospitals. Paul, what is your take on this?
I, Paul, a prisoner of Corona, have learned a lot about patience and trusting in God. For example, you don't always get to pick your roommates. You may love some roommates and even travel with them as companions, like my main man and fellow evangelizer in crime, Luke. Or sometimes there are others like the usual suspect, Peter, who, despite holding the same beliefs and core values, would... Well, never mind. we just end up being foolish. As I was saying earlier, though, we must avoid disputes about the law and instead, as disciples, devote ourselves fully to good works as the Lord commands us to.
That's exactly right. And that's what a lot of people seem to be doing, aside from serving meals to most of the frontline workers in the healthcare business. Thomas, would you like to weigh in on the shortage of some of these PPE materials?
Oh, well, what she's seeing a lot is people making these masks for all these nurses, and me
Right.
personally, I doubt that they even work. I mean, I'd have to see the material, really feel it to really see it actually doing stuff that'll maybe help us in this pandemic. You know?
I understand. There's a lot of reason to doubt with all of the unknown. Moving on, Faustina, you were sick at some point in your life. Is there anything that you'd like to share with us about this aspect of suffering for those who may have contracted the virus?
Well, yes, I do. As you know, I've always been very much drawn to the contemplative life. Jesus, from the time I was very young, called me to a life of prayer and to offer up my sufferings so that those who are sinners, the dying, and the lost can experience the great mercy of God and be converted. So, what I do is I offer up my daily trials as a prayer of penance. I am very compassionate to those who are ill with this virus because the last 2 years of my life were spent coping and fighting tuberculosis. Although it was a very heavy cross to bear, Jesus gave me the grace to be joyful and to minister to others through prayer. As I prayed my Divine Mercy Chaplet, I experienced peace, comfort, and hope despite my illness. I would tell those who have the virus or those that know of a family member or relative with it to please pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet every day.
Mm-hmm.
And you too will experience many, many graces from the Lord. Use this time in isolation as an opportunity to offer your sufferings to those who are taking care of you, the nurses, doctors, or your own family members, and for a healing within your own community. God bless all of us, and to all those who are watching, much love to you.
Hey, man, I couldn't think of a better way to end this broadcast. I want to thank each of you for being here. Thank you very much, and God bless you all. Folks, that concludes our broadcast tonight. And today is a day of great news. This Jesus who was missing not only defeated the grave, but he also defeated our sin. We can gain a lot of insight from our panel today. Paul was in isolation, having been imprisoned multiple times. And so he understands that some of us may be feeling isolated as well as we quarantine ourselves to prevent the spread of the virus. St. Faustina also suffered as having tuberculosis towards the end of her life. She knows what it's like to suffer, like many of us who might have experienced people suffering from COVID-19, or there may be some of us who have contracted the virus and are suffering right now. We ask the intercession of St. Faustina and St. Paul for all of us who are suffering in any way. And lastly, Thomas, our connoisseur of Uber Eats, had lots of reason to doubt because he wasn't there when Christ first reappeared to the disciples after he had risen. And just like us today, we have much reason to doubt because of all of the unknown in the current circumstances. But folks, what we can gain great hope, faith, and encouragement from is knowing that these things were not a surprise to our God, and that he calls us his children, so calls us to go forth to make disciples. Jesus didn't come into the world for the healthy. He came into the world for the sick. And with that, we gain great hope, great faith, and great encouragement. That concludes our broadcast for tonight. We'll see y'all again real soon next Sunday. And remember, if you don't believe in heaven or hell, you better hope you're right. From all of us here at DMGM, God bless you. Have a great evening.
Hello, my brothers and sisters. I would like to tell you about the weather for this coming week. We have winds blowing. We have storms coming down. These are dark days that we live in. But I want to tell you about the light of Christ. Even in the darkness, with the weather coming down and the winds blowing, these are days that we will all see to overcome with the faith of our Lord Jesus. This coverage is all over. It is going to be something that we will work through together. As you see, we have low frontal winds, and it's coming up through the Houston area into Louisiana and New Orleans. And the thunderstorms will come, and then they will pass, and the light of Jesus will shine upon us all. So have faith, my brothers and sisters, that this too will pass. Thank you, and have a blessed night.